Before the beginning, there was nothing. No earth, no heavens, no stars, no sky. Only the mist world, formless and shapeless. And the fire world, always burning. In Jotunheim, the home of the giants, is Mimir's well. Mimir, the wise one, the guardian of memory, knows many things. His well is wisdom. The ash tree grows between the 9 worlds and joins them each to each. The dragon Nidhogg lives in these waters, and it is always gnawing at the root from below. At the edge of the flame stood Sota. He will go forth from Muspel with his flaming sword and burn the world with fire, and one by one the gods will fall before him.
Well, hello, everyone. It is Wednesday once again, which means it is New Comic Book Day, the day that comics arrive at comic shops. And to celebrate, Dark Horse Comics does a rundown of all of our new releases each week. I am Kara. I work at Dark Horse in marketing. Some of you may have seen me recently at Rose City Comic Con. In fact, first time I've been back at a convention in person for about 2 years. I think New York Comic Con 2019 was our last in-person con. Dark Horse was not present physically at Rose City, aside from myself, because of panels, but we did sponsor. We're still sponsoring shows. We're still doing virtual panels and things like that. So more on that front. I'll do a quick recap coming up. But my colleague from Dark Horse Comics is here with me today. I am very happy to welcome back my friend Jenny. Hi, Jenny. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you, Kara. Hi, everybody on the interwebs.
Yes,
my name is Jenny.
we are on the internet.
I know. Oh, the internet. When I'm not on the internet, I am an associate editor at Dark Horse. I get to work with fabulous marketing folks like Kara, and I also work on a few lines, including Critical Role, Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Legend of Korra, and, especially important for today, Mike Mignola and the Hellboy universe.
Some small, minor.
Yeah, maybe specialty readers might have heard of them,
Hopefully you've heard of at least one of those franchises or lines or what have you.
If you're on the stream today, odds are you're interested in hearing about Mignola at least, and we can do that.
Yes, we are going to do a deep dive, focus, whatever you'd like to call it, on the Mignolaverse, especially because we've had this week, I can't believe it's only Wednesday. This is a crazy week. Starting on Monday, we had some more Mignolaverse news, some more Mike Mignola news. We also have multiple new releases from Mike Mignola and collaborators this week, which we're going to show you. And ongoing, if you did not know, I think it confuses people still a little bit. Yes, the main Hellboy storyline concluded some time ago with Hellboy in Hell, and then also kind of in the Bprd, but there's been tons of Hellboy ongoing since then. We have Hellboy in the Bprd. We have solo Hellboy stories. We have all the other Mignolaverse. We have the Outerverse with Baltimore, Lady Baltimore, and Joe Golem, and so much cool stuff going on with Mike Mignola and his collaborators. So yeah, there's plenty more Hellboy and friends all the time that have been ongoing for years now and upcoming. So we've been trying to kind of emphasize that, and we're going to show you a lot of it today. Before we fully dive into things, I'll touch on those announcements real quick. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the stream. First of all, like I said, Wednesdays are New Comic Book Day, new releases at comic shops. So Dark Horse Comics, we try to stream every week on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. We are in Pacific time here, so that's what all our times are in. That's UTC -7 for now until we hit daylight savings again. Then we'll go back to -8. So anyway, so every Wednesday we try to do some streams. We will have something very big and exciting for you next week on Wednesday. I can't tell you what it is yet, but we hope to announce it very soon. So stay tuned to our website and social media for something very cool that we'll be doing next week. Just tune in, same time, same place to see that, and look out for the news in the meantime. This week, the Mignolaverse news that I mentioned is the return of Mike Mignola to not just writing, but art on some comics, on specifically a one-shot. Jenny, do you want to tell them about this one-shot?
Oh, yes. I'm very excited for this one. As you mentioned, Mike retired, quote unquote, from the Hellboy universe after he finished that initial 12-book series about Hellboy. So Hellboy in Hell was hypothetically his last time both writing and drawing Hellboy. He's done a few kind of partials and cameos on certain issues since then. But the big deal about this one is that it's his first time, like you said, coming back not only to write, but also draw line art for the entire one shot. So this is Hellboy's kind of hero, longtime companion, universe collaborator, Sir Edward Grey, who's at the focus of this. And I want to just back up a little bit to frame this one shot, because it revisits some really important points from previously in the Mignolaverse and in Hellboy's story in the broader saga. So there are going to be huge, massive, flashing neon sign spoilers in the next few minutes here. So if you're worried about that, if you haven't read the end of Hellboy or B.P.R.D, if you didn't get to that, this would be the time to navigate away from this little stream. You can revisit us when it's reposted afterward, after you've caught up on everything you want to get caught up on. So now that I've done that awkward little verbal dance,
beware spoilers.
Yes, there be spoilers off the edge of this map where we are heading out. So, at the end of Hellboy in Hell, when Mignola ended his run on Hellboy, Hellboy ends up in a nice little cottage by the sea. I think we have, there we go. Thank you, Gary. A page of that Hellboy. This is where Hellboy retires in Hell. After killing Satan and kind of starting a new era for everybody hanging out down there. And that kind of is where we hear the last of him as the B.P.R.D saga continues through Hell on Earth and up to Ragnarok, which is in the series The Devil You Know. So at some unspecified point, Hellboy needs to come back to help the rest of the B.P.R.D try and tackle Ragnarok and save at least some of humanity from being killed by the Ogdruhem. So what we get is Sir Edward Grey, who is long deceased and now kind of embodying this Acheron character, comes to Hell to find Hellboy and get him to come back to Earth. Part of the way that he manages to do that is by bringing Roger the homunculus, who is always, always, always near and dear to my heart. Roger's one of my personal favorite characters and is, again, more spoilers, killed at one point in B.P.R.D. I know. So
there's a fair amount of death in horror comics, which hopefully doesn't surprise you.
No, it's kind of key part and parcel, but I don't think until we hit B.P.R.D that we really saw any of these key characters who had been with us for, issues actually end up getting really killed. And in fact, I will fully admit that when Roger first was killed, I wasn't fully convinced that he was really, really, really dead. Unfortunately, he is.
I had a kind of a similar reaction. I didn't want him to be, and it's comics, so you never know.
Yeah.
You never know. But
well, and that's part of what made kind of this. Now, I won't call it fan service because it's so genuine. Having Roger come back for this nice little snippet here, where Ed comes back and says, hey, Hellboy, we had a couple more things to do.
Mm-hmm.
So once, Ed kind of acquires Hellboy's cooperation there, we get the BPRD members who are still on Earth, namely Liz and Abe, who end up recovering Hellboy's body, only to find that he's still occupying it. Hellboy comes back from the dead, hence the title of the series, The Devil You Know, in order to kind of to help with this last onslaught, and in part to fulfill that final prophecy of him being the beast of the apocalypse.
I like that you selected these things too. I mean, so Jenny very kindly put together this little retrospective, and I just wanted to throw in that this ties in nicely with the announcement today because of the return of Mike to do some art in this.
Yeah, no, it really does. It really does. And Mike, this was one of those Easter eggs in The Devil You Know, where Mike did come back to draw a few pages in this series. And that was something that was super hard to keep hush hush, because we were all so excited about it. I mean, we've had.
And then because we had to keep it under wraps, I feel like a lot of people didn't actually even know.
Yeah.
So if you didn't know, Mike does draw some of these key scenes of Hellboy's return in the Bprd finale. And
it's just, the way that they integrate into other creators' art, specifically with this series. Laurence Campbell did a lot of the art in it. And it's really nice to have the visual difference in the inking style and the line art style, but have Dave Stewart's colors just tie the whole story together on top of it. So it's really wonderful. I love the way it was slotted in there.
Yeah.
But after Hellboy does come back, and after the BPRD recovers him and kind of figures out that, yeah, he is the real Hellboy and he's somehow miraculously back here to help, what ends up happening, I keep saying spoilers, but I keep thinking, God, this is such a big spoiler, is Hellboy does fulfill his prophecy of being the beast of the apocalypse by tackling Rasputin, who is, more spoilers, also back from the dead. This is just like an onslaught of big reveals, but hence all of the manic warnings here. He ends up fulfilling his end of the deal. His prophecy is closed and completed. And we think he is finally, according to everything we know so far, he is getting to rest. He voluntarily leaves Earth once again and initiates what becomes, the start of a brand new world, a brand new setting. Earth does, life finds a way. And, but yeah, so his chapter is closed in this. Ed has done his duty. Ed Gray, Acheron, has done his duty in bringing him back and in completing the cycle. Is there another page up, Gary? There we go. Thank you. Yes, Hellboy's last scene right here. Yeah, so again, that chapter closes, but we have a couple of very important loose ends still to be tied up. And one of those is Sir Edward Grey, because he's still around. And in fact, he has a couple of other things to do before he can hopefully also find his forever rest. And so that's where Acheron picks up. And that's why you should definitely plan to read it, because it ties up some important loose ends from Mignola's Hellboy in Hell series. So you get a follow up to the end of BPRD, you get a follow up to Ragnarok, and you get a follow up to some of the threads of Hell that he still has to pull. All in addition to it being written and drawn by Mike. So this is going to be a real treat. We are giggling our little pants off here in anticipation.
Yeah, the announcement, we've been gearing up for this announcement. Very exciting. We announced Sir Edward Grey Acheron on Monday this week. The link has been dropped in the chat if you would like to read it. If you haven't seen the news, if you want to catch up on it, should be able to pre-order it. The new previews catalog is going out very soon, so you can get it from comic shops. Just let them know that you want to pre-order this one shot. There's also so the main cover is, of course, by Mike and Dave Stewart. And then we have a variant cover by the brilliant Ben Stenbeck, one of my favorite Mignolaverse artists personally. His work is fantastic. Sir Edward Grey, of course, Witchfinder. One of my other favorite characters who has kind of ended up in this same boat down here, I guess, is Kashe, the Deathless. So I'm very excited for this return and this particular story. I'm very glad that Mike wanted to explore this, and not only to explore it in writing, but to explore it with his art again. So very exciting news all around. Like I said, Mike Mignola, Dave Stewart. We also have Clem Robbins, as usual, on letters. Jenny, how long have you been working with Clem now? He letters a lot of these.
Oh man, I've been working with Clem since I started at Dark Horse, so about 4 years now-ish. Clem is just as much of a mainstay on the series as, Mike himself, or Dave Stewart with colors. He and his consistent style just match everything about this series so well. And quite frankly, I don't think letterers in general get enough credit for all the magic that they bring to comics. So Clem's continuity on this series is very much appreciated and admired.
I always love to call out and highlight letterers, as regular viewers may have noticed, for that reason. They are an essential part of the team. And I mean, there are so many jobs that you don't know about that go behind the scenes here. Sometimes we have pencils, as well as inks, as well as colors, as well as letters, on and on and on, flatters, digital art, so much stuff. So shout out to all of the unsung heroes, perhaps. But Clem Robbins, often a collaborator on these Mignolaverse and Outerverse books. So as I said, kind of a reunification of a common Mignolaverse team here, some of the greats. In this particular story, what do you think, Jenny? Can we give like a little synopsis without too much spoilering?
Yeah, I can drop a few tidbits here. So I can tell you that Sir Edward's adventures take place in hell. Like I said, there are a couple of characters who Mignolaverse readers have met before down in the depths that Sir Edward ends up interacting with as his Acheron persona. And let's see, what else can I drop here? I can say, you should definitely if you're interested in knowing a little bit more about who Ed is as his Acheron avatar, and how he became who he is, I definitely recommend picking up the Witchfinder series. That'll tell you a little bit more about, Ed and his adventures. It's available in 2 hardcover omnibus collections at this point. Do I have an example? I have an example. Really nice, lovely books. So there are those, but honestly, if you're more interested just in the Acheron persona, I'd recommend reading The Devil You Know. The whole series, which collects 3 trade paperbacks, is available in a hardcover omnibus right here. Devil You Know. And this
if
one,
you could not get the hardcover, they do go into paperback after a while, just like regular books.
Yes. Yes, you can also try and find the trade paperback individual volumes if you're interested. So the the 3 paperbacks were called 3 different titles. It was like Pandemonium, Ragnarok, and I'm forgetting the first one. If somebody in the chat knows, please feel free to correct me.
Hot tip. All you need to do is go to darkhorse.com, the search box in the upper right, type in Witchfinder. What comes up will be all the results in order by date of publication. You can switch it up. There's tools at the top of the page to reverse the date order, to see them from oldest to newest, to sort them by book, to sort them by single issue, all that good stuff. So Witchfinder, keyword search on our website. That will help you if you're wondering about reading order.
That'll get you that. For if you're interested more in the Acheron persona specifically, you'll want to look for The Devil You Know from B.P.R.D. Because this is where Sir Edward Grey actually tells Hellboy how he became this form of himself that he is now and in the upcoming Acheron. So Sir Edward Grey's human adventures, Witchfinder, his post-human adventures, B.P.R.D. Devil You Know.
Lots and lots and lots of reading material.
Oh yeah. And there are a bunch of reading order guides and sort of timelines that we've put out about what comes in which order. So there are lots of resources out there. Please don't be overwhelmed. We also have a line of Hellboy Universe Essentials that we've started putting out that we're doing in collaboration with Mike. If you're kind of not sure where to start, or you want to give a series kind of a try to see if you want to get fully invested in the whole thing, check out the Universe Essentials. They'll be good starting points as recommended by Mike Mignola.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The first of those is out now. Bprd is coming up, and then we have 2 more. Like I said, there's been a lot of activity around all things Mignolaverse, new collections, new stories, which will eventually be collected. Lots and lots of things happening. Again, our website is a good tool. I know it's older, but it does work. I use the keyword search all the time to help narrow things down, to answer people's questions online, things like that. So if you do have any other specific questions for us, please feel free to drop them in the chat as we go along, and Jenny and I will answer what we can without too many spoilers. So I mentioned, Acheron is our big announcement this week for the Mignolaverse. We do have some more announcements, but in the interest of kind of keeping the continuity of all things Mignola, I feel like right now, maybe we should start our look at the new releases this week. How do we all feel about that? Because we have two Mike Mignola and team releases available today at comic shops, 2 new single issues. First up, we have the beginning of Hellboy and the Bprd 1957, which is a series of 5 one-shots. Mm-hmm. On this one, we have another Mignola frequent collaborator, Laurence Campbell, providing the art. And I love this cover, which is kind of subtle and very black. But who is that in the light of the garage? I'm going to say the light of the driveway. A man with a red hand.
A big punchy right hand.
A rather large right hand that is red. So subtle, but I like it.
Lawrence's covers. I've already gushed about Lawrence's art today, but I have to say his covers on this series all kind of have this same element of lots of heavy inks, lots of really hidden element feel to it. And I think kind of the understage approach, especially combined with Dave Stewart's colors again, is really knocks it out of the park on this series.
So we have Laurence on interior art for this one as well, which also lends some nice lots of dark black ink. Colors, as you mentioned, by Dave Stewart. We have Chris Roberson co-writing these with Mike, another frequent collaborator. All the Chris's. This time it's Roberson. We're talking earlier about how many Chris's and Christophers there are on this. So we do have a few.
We love them all.
We love them all. They each are their own a unique personality and style too, art style, writing style. We'll have more on the other Chris's actually coming up after this. We do have some interior pages to show you here. You can also see them on our website. As usual, we have some preview pages of the issue. But yeah, Jenny, can you tell us a little bit about 1957? Like, what are the series of 5 one-shots? Like, what is the interconnectivity there?
Yeah. So this continues kind of the Hellboy years. Hellboy in the Bprd series. It gets a little confusing because we have, Hellboy in the Bprd, where we go through these years and kind of adventures in the different time periods, kind of in context of history. And then we have Hellboy and the Bprd, which are more like one-shots and general stories that kind of jump around a little bit more. So this series, Hellboy and the Bprd 1957, obviously the former, and it follows a lot of the same format as like 1954, 1952, those ones that are more one shots and two shots, as opposed to 1956, which is more of a continuous story. So this will be good for folks who just want like 1 or 2 stories and don't want to maybe have to buy the whole series, although you should, from your local comic shop, because they appreciate your support. So this first issue here involves Hellboy and one of the Bprd agents. Did we say which agent that is yet?
We haven't said which here, but I think you can see from the preview pages. All right. And we have definitely also been very public about each issue will kind of team Hellboy up with a different Bprd agent. Okay, perfect. So this is Sue Chang, and I apologize for people who speak that language about my pronunciation. But and we try. We do our best.
I apologize. Thank you. And she and Hellboy, as you can tell from this preview page here, are trying to track down a paperback edition of a book that can summon demons. So yikes.
Honestly, that sounds like one of my D&D campaigns right now, but that's another story.
I mean, I won't lie. If I found this in my local used bookstore, I would probably pick it up for novelty sake, but Hellboy and Susan would prefer that you please don't, because when you do, they end up wandering around 1950s suburbia trying to find it. And when they do come across it, it turns out that it has already done some damage in some irresponsible hands. So of course, Hellboy and Susan have to work to get that particular can of worms closed again. And it's a really good, it's just a really good, straightforward, but still unique and interesting, monster of the week kind of one shot. But it also, at the same time, reveals a little bit more about Susan, who hasn't been explored as deeply as some other characters in the Bprd at this time. Susan is a psychic. She uses a trishul and touch in order to see visions and revelations about certain people, objects, events, that sort of thing. So we get to learn a little bit more about Susan here with Hellboy as a foil. And I think that that's really the consistent theme that people are going to see throughout this series. It's Hellboy working as a foil to kind of highlight the personalities and traits of different Bprd characters who we haven't seen as much of. So it's a lot of fun. It's good monster smash and classic Hellboy, but it's also more of a one-shot window into some of the other characters.
Mm-hmm. I've been looking forward to this series for quite a while. I like that it's kind of a different and fresh take on, not just one shot, but a series of interconnected 5 one-shots. I think I really enjoy that, and it will make a really great collection eventually. We do have solicited so far, you can see issue number 2. It will be out in late November, barring any ongoing pandemic-related shipping delays, of course. But But Hellboy and the Bprd 1957, number 2, Forgotten Lives. I don't even know if we're really numbering these necessarily, but for the sake of context, here, the second one. That one,
at least.
Yeah. That one features another artist on interior, Stephen Green. So that person is not one that has been as involved as Laurence Campbell, say, on the Mignolaverse yet. So I'm excited to see some new and a little bit different art in this one.
Yeah. And what we've seen so far has been awesome. I mean, Steven's an incredibly talented artist. He's a comics pro who's made the rounds, and we're really excited to have him drawing this particular story for reasons that I won't go into yet. But that's one of the things I like about this series too, in addition to getting to know the characters more, having a different artist on each issue really lets us kind of explore different styles and tailor artistic styles kind of to the agent that we're featuring, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like what we're doing with Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology right now as well. Different artists for each story, which I think is great for, you have Jill Thompson's brilliant watercolors. You want Jill Thompson when you're talking about Freya's cats. Come on.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So, yeah. So having artists kind of tailored to the characters, I love that. I think that's a great approach. Cover art, which is what you can see right now on our website and in Diamond, etc. That of course is again Laurence Campbell, who did the main covers for all these. A little Lobster Johnson symbol on there.
Yeah, what's that on the card there? Yeah, anybody seen Easter egg?
Also, in recent solicitations, like as of this week, there's some more Lobster Johnson stuff coming up for fans of the Claw. I know people have been asking about that for quite a while. So yeah, look at the comic solicitations. We'll continue to share those on our social media and our website. You'll see all the things are in the most recent catalog coming up so that you can pre-order them, fans of Lobster Johnson. But yeah, like I said, this next issue will be out November 24th, but be sure to pick up Hellboy and the Bprd 1957, the beginning of this series of one-shots at comic shops starting today, this week. We like to recommend, actually kind of skipped over that because we are doing things a little differently this week than usual, but we always recommend comicshoplocator.com if you need help finding a shop near you. We often shout out local comic shops. I have guests recommend ones in their areas. Pretty much every time on this show, when we have guests from the Dark Horse area, which is the greater Portland area, we talk about Books with Pictures. Shout out to Books with Pictures once again, because they are a fantastic local shop. And I saw Katie, one of the co-owners, at Rose City over the weekend. So that was really fun. We actually got to be on a panel together for a minute, talking about all the different types of jobs one can do in comics, not just writing and drawing them. So as always, shout out to Books with Pictures. Comic shop locator, like I mentioned. Jenny, you are in a new area now. Are there comic shops in your area that you like to shout out?
There is
greater area.
A grand total of one comics and gaming store around me now, which is a very
bless them for being there.
Many blessings on Anime Cat, located in downtown Port Angeles, Washington. Nice. They deal mostly in manga and in tabletop gaming, but they do special orders, as many local comic book shops do. So if you're ever in your local comic book shop and they don't maybe have the specific title you're looking for, don't be afraid to ask. Oh my gosh, please don't be afraid to ask. Odds are they'll be able to special order it in for you if it's in print. So don't hesitate on that. Love to Anime Cat. And I also want to shout out the Norwich bookstore in Norwich, Vermont, because I have been, like many people, ordering a lot of my books online these days because COVID. So it's freed me up not to only support my local indie bookstores, but support some local, indie comic book shops and stores that are, you know, a little bit further afield. So spread the love. If there's an indie business that you love, shout them out, support them, toss some money their way.
100%. Yeah. I know most of us shop online anyway, I think anymore. And especially during the pandemic, I definitely have been doing a lot of my ordering online, even if I pick up in person for the local cases. So bookstores, as another reminder, also carry all of our collections, all of our books. They don't typically carry single issues, but books. Definitely check out your local bookshops. Indiebound.org is a good website for that. Around here, we have places like Powell's, which have new and used books. Questions for those in international countries. I know shipping has been nuts with the pandemic and will be for some time, unfortunately. But Forbidden Planet, for example, is a good one if you're in the UK. Like Jenny said, even if you try one site or you go to one shop and you don't see a comic or a book, absolutely ask them to order it for you. They just may need to know that somebody wants to buy it, and then they will order it in. And I am speaking from many, many, many years of experience as a bookseller, as well as working for a publisher now. So just ask them to order it for you, especially things that are maybe a little bit harder to find. Doesn't mean they're not out there. They just need to pull them from the right place.
And comic book shops and booksellers have all the tricks. They know exactly where to look. They know all the hidden corners of the industry where there's, I don't know, one pristine copy of what you're looking for, just waiting for you to order.
You know, it's interesting because that was actually, I was working in bookstores and libraries during college and shortly after graduating with my undergrad. And while deciding what I wanted to do, what degree I wanted to pursue post-grad, I was working as the special orders clerk at a bookstore. And that meant that I was dealing directly with publishers to place special orders, like out of the ordinary, out of the general stock, by customers for the, and that could be something as basic as a textbook that's just kind of specialty you need to go out of the way to order, because no, a bookstore probably isn't going to keep a lot of those on the shelf all the time. But it could also be like very special editions of something, or just anything that wasn't readily on hand, especially in the bigger box stores. They have limited shelf space. So they just aren't going to have everything all the time. Just ask. We'll do it. We'll get it for you. That being said, that is our spiel about where and how to get comics and books. I think about it all the time too, because we're also asked about reprints. I apologize if you guys are getting background noise. My neighbors have decided to do yard work in the middle of the day, apparently, which is great. I am going to introduce the next new release and let Jenny talk about it while I shut some windows. So we also have a new Mignolaverse title, The House of Lost Horizons, issue number 5, a Sarah Jewell Mystery, which is the conclusion of this mini-series. Take it away, Jenny. I'll be right back.
First of all, let me say I am glad that your neighbors are doing yard work now as opposed to like 4 a.m, which would be awkward for a number of reasons. But yeah, in any case, let's talk about something that does not involve yard work, which is House of Lost Horizons. What it does involve is this series, for folks who are just hearing about it now, is about Sarah Jewell, who is one of my personal favorite kind of quote unquote side characters from the Hellboy universe. So we first saw her show up in Rise of the Black Flame, which was kind of a one series about some shenanigans in the jungle and a death cult and, all the stuff that you know and love about Mignolaverse books. And Sarah is an American woman who is big, bold, and brash and doesn't mind kicking butt, which is instantly going to get my attention. She and her companion, Marie-Therese Lafleur, are known for tracking down the same sorts of kind of Victorian era supernatural shenanigans as later Sir Edward Grey does. So what we see in this House of Lost Horizons is really their first Mignolaverse spotlight since Rise of the Black Flame. And in this case, it's kind of like an occult locked room murder mystery. And it takes place on an island just off the coast of Washington. So shout out to the Pacific Northwest. Thank you, Chris Roberson, for that one. Yeah, and it's a classic whodunit, but it's not boring or predictable in the same kind of ways that some of those series get, for me personally, at least. And I think a lot of that is because of the occult element. So you have some familiar aspects like, oh, they're trapped in this place and they can't get out. People keep dying one by one. Who's going to be next? What's motivating each of these? And, how do Sarah and Marie-Therese determine who the culprit likely is? So those are all classic, like, locked room murder mystery, whodunit sort of elements. But the motivation behind each suspect's actions ties into some really interesting Mignolaverse lore. You also, hi kitty.
There's always at least one around, usually more.
It's true. Folks may have seen Daisy's nose on screen earlier. She's sleeping now, but Daisy is our new rescue dog.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sure you'll meet her at some point.
More pets when we can rouse them. Rex is behind me too, so stay tuned.
Rex always makes an appearance. But while we're waiting, Sarah and Marie-Therese continue their investigations. And I will tell you that at the end of number 4 in this series of 5, we actually find out who the actual culprit is. But we still have a whole nother issue. And that's because this isn't as simple as just like who killed people. There's a whole lot of questions to be answered, and that's why we have this whole individual 5th issue to do that, because it gets wild, folks. Like even for a Mignolaverse title, this is wild, and I really respect the way that Chris Roberson was able to braid all these threads together into this really awesome story. So in addition to his writing, he's, as we've said, kind of a regular in the Mignolaverse. The art is by Leila Del Duca, who you may know from such awesome titles as Afar. In fact, I think she is kickstarting a volume 2 of Afar right now, just a side note. So if you like Leila Del Duca or you liked Afar, check that out. And then we have, of course, the cover here that we're looking at now is by the lovely Chris Mitten, who did the interior art in the Rise of the Black Flame series. So we have kind of a nice little full circle here where he came back to draw Sarah and Marie-Therese on the covers, since he was kind of the first one to draw them in the universe. So that was very nice.
All of these interconnections within the Mignolaverse. I love it. Yeah, Chris Mitten's covers for this are brilliant. I don't think I didn't have any preview pages for today from this, so I could show off more of Leila's art, but you can see them on our website, of course, and we'll share some more on social media coming up.
And of course, interior colors by the peerless Michelle Madsen, who is another regular we have in the Mignolaverse. And, that's part of what I think makes the Mignolaverse special, is that, you have all of these subtle interactions between the different series and the different stories and the different characters that are featured. But at the same time, you don't have to have read, all of Witchfinder or all of Hellboy or what have you to pick this up and read it as a story that makes sense. It's almost like the interconnectedness is an addition to the story rather than the story itself. So I love and respect that about pretty much everything that's come out in this universe. It's really cool.
And even with that, even with all of these fantastic returning collaborators that we all, it's almost like coming home every time you read one of these. You get to enjoy something that you love, and then often with the addition of someone new in some aspect. And then you have like Young Hellboy and things like that, which we've been doing more and more of recently with new artists coming in and joining. And So again, like it's maybe familiar storytellers, but then you get to sample and hopefully fall in love with new style of art at the same time.
Yep.
Always very talented. I'm always impressed with the people that come together for these. Like Leila is a great fit for this series, for example.
She's just so talented, and her expressions especially, that she's able to draw on the characters here, because you have a very wide cast of people, as you do in these sort of murder mysteries. It's one of the classic elements that people keep coming back for. But the way that she is able to consistently put such individual personality into all of them visually is really something special.
I like another thing that I think works for me for this series is the softer color palette that Michelle uses throughout. And of course it varies with the scenes, but overall, I think that it's kind of a good fit. It's telling. It helps even if you just see Chris Mitten's covers, I think it helps you kind of get a feel for what the comic is about. And these are somewhat different from a lot of the other Mignolaverse titles. These are for fans of, say, like Agatha Christie, or as Jenny and I like to talk about, like Franny Fisher, and other, cozy, but not too cozy mysteries.
Yeah, I'm now trying to like mash occult and cozy together in my head, and it's not really working. Excuse me, but follow your own bliss on that one. Excuse me, goodness.
I would love to see, actually, with Halloween coming up, and I'm always thinking about Halloween, so like just go with me here, but Halloween is coming up, and Dark Horse, with all of our great horror titles, with all the Mignolaverse, we have so much good reading material. I would love to see if anybody does costumes this year from House of Lost Horizons.
That would be awesome. And it does, like, especially with the color palette, like you're saying, I love in this series the fact that not only do people's outfits change, which I love because it's a pet peeve of mine when it's like, been a week and everybody's still like wearing the exact same thing. And I'm like, do you ever wash your socks? No, socks, they always stay clean. But with this, the warm kind of cozy, like you were saying, palette that Michelle uses really starts to juxtapose the sinister feel. And so like looking at the pages and reading them, you kind of, I don't know, I at least start to feel uneasy reading, because I'm like, oh God, everything like looks so warm and inviting. It's like classic roaring 20s type of luxury. And then at the same time, it's like, but what is around that attractively carved corner?
Right.
It creates this real juxtaposition of feelings. And I think that's something that people, especially who love costuming and cosplay, could really have a lot of fun with.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have some beautiful period costume designs. Gary is awesome behind the scenes. He brought up some preview pages for us. Thank you. Yeah. And I mean, they do just such a beautiful job illustrating, like, I mean, look at that, even like the folds of the skirt.
Or the glow of lightning. Come on.
So cool. I know from talking with artists, and at other times on other streams and just in general. So sometimes I like to ask, what is your favorite thing, but also what is one of your least favorite things to draw, like in general or on this series? And a lot of times the least favorite, it seems it's polarizing, right? Some folks do not like having to deal with period details. Totally understandable. Some folks are good at it and enjoy it. And clearly here we have, I mean, I don't know how much Leila loves it, but she does a good job. So yeah. So shout out to all of that. I love 1920s style myself. Again, I'm going to throw out Miss Fisher's mysteries because I love mysteries. I didn't think that I would like become my mother in that respect, but I definitely love a good mystery. I watch a lot of mystery shows. I read a lot of mystery books. And so yeah, if you like me enjoy, that's the funny thing though, isn't it, about cozy ones especially? It's never really that cozy because there's always a murder,
I don't know. I think there's some social commentary in there about how we've become a nerd to the suffering of others, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
Anyway, so if you love a good mystery, if you do like Agatha Christie type stories, if you love the Mignola verse, I mean, there are so many things. If you're interested in the occults, if you're interested, like all of those elements that make Hellboy so great, the folklore, the occult, the mystery, in this case, very much like the suspense of a true mystery, the crime solving. I think there's something for you to enjoy in here. And the collection will be out. I actually had it up earlier, but I think I put that tab away. But the collection will be coming out soon enough. But yeah, so this brings the mini series to a close at issue number 5.
Mm-hmm.
Let me pull it up. I believe it's up for pre-order now. So I may as well just tell you that date.
Let's see.
Coming, I think it's in the most recent round of previews, so it's not up on our website yet, but it will be available for pre-order very soon. But yeah, so today, September 15th, in comic shops, House of Lost Horizons, issue number 5, and the one that we just talked about, Hellboy and the Bprd 1957, the first issue, a one-shot.
I have just confirmed. It looks like the collection will be available in February of 22.
There you go. That's what I try not to say anything if I have not fully confirmed, because Lord knows when I'll be quoted for these streams.
That's right. And let me just take the opportunity too, since we're talking dates, to thank everybody for their patience and their understanding as we in comics, as well as in a multitude of other industries, continue to face materials shortages, shipping delays. Thank you so much for understanding. This is, part of the global struggle that everybody's still facing, thanks to, among other things, COVID. So we're very sorry. It's legitimately out of our hands. We're doing what we can. Please be patient with us. Please be patient with booksellers and retailers and comic shop owners. They're just the messenger. We're trying. We're really trying.
Yeah, we as regular viewers, or if you are into comics in general, as you may know, I mean, this has been going on for quite some time, and we really do try to focus on the release dates in comic shops, especially. That has been quite varied, though. Sometimes now comics like collections are actually coming out in bookstores even before they get to the direct market or comic shops. So it varies quite a bit. We're keeping up as best we can. Check our website regularly for updated dates. Stay in contact with your retailers if you're waiting for something that you pre-ordered. International shipping especially has just been a bit crazy. And unfortunately, as Dark Horse, we can't necessarily answer all your questions. It would be better to check with your retailers specifically. They will have a better idea, I hope, of what their stock is looking like. But we do have one other single issue I want to shout out that's out today. We've been having some crazy release weeks lately, and we're about to have more. October is going to be insane. Please wish me luck as I deal with it. But this week it's kind of nice. We have a little bit of a break. We have one more single issue, not by Mike Mignola or teammates, but by another frequent Dark Horse collaborator, Aubrey Sitterson. Savageheart. Yeah, Aubrey is great. He has a lot of fun with his comics. That's something that I wish more people would remember about comics, is they don't have to be super serious. They can be fun. They can be silly. They can be humor comics. We also have a new Gru series right now. All that is gags. That's just jokes. It's just fun. We have all the Evan Dorkin comics too. Most of his past work was humor, even though now we have awesome series that are a bit more serious, like Beasts of Burden. But comics can be fun too. It's okay for them to be silly and bizarre and off the wall, which is definitely all of
aware and just it's wonderful. And to see somebody like Aubrey, especially, like, just kind of embrace that and do a series like Savage Hearts, where it's just like, all right, we're gonna make this weird and goofy.
We're gonna have, so it's like sword and sorcery, barbarian, jungle, romance. He likes to call it a rom-com. So yeah, it's got all sorts of elements if you like old Conan stuff, but again, like, don't take it super seriously. Like, it's humor.
It's tongue-in-cheek Conan. I don't know. It's a beautiful kind of mashup of genres. I love it.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Savage Hearts, we're in the middle of the series now, issue number 3. We have our, I love the cover art. We've got like a sort of a pterodactyl. I don't like, whatever it is, it's made up for the sake of this new book. The artwork by Jed Doherty is amazing. He's doing a fantastic job with all these jungle creatures. Colors, Aubrey's been working with Laverne Kanzierski a lot lately, which is great. Also coloring his other current series, The Worst Dudes. Another very silly, very raunchy book, and lettered by Taylor Esposito in both cases. And because there's always more with Aubrey, there's also a backup story in each issue that you can only get in the single issues. They won't be included in the collections. So there's a backup story that goes in the back of each of these issues by Goran Gligovic, and it's sort of like alternative Robin Hood.
It's hilarious. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
So to lighten up the moods, if you needed it this week, we also have Savage Hearts, in addition to all those Mignola-verse titles. And that honestly rounds out the new releases for this week. We also have a Geralt figure, which you can see on our website, another Witcher product amongst our growing line of things. We'll have more things coming up. We've announced, you can see on our website. I also want to get back to the other big announcement that we had this week, just yesterday, in fact. This has been a very long time coming, but we can't always announce things until they are, really fully ready to go almost and ready to be put into the world. And so together with Netflix this week, we were able to announce that Matt Wagner's Grendel series is coming to Netflix as a live action series. It's very exciting news. You can see the full cast listing as announced thus far on our website. We're going to have some more news coming up with Netflix throughout the week, so stay tuned, and we'll cover the full cast in more depth as we go along. But very exciting to be able to announce that Grendel is coming to live action series, and 8 episodes is the first season. We'll see where it goes after that. Not a ton of other like specific dates or anything yet, but just the fact that
early days.
Yeah. Just the fact that after, nearly 40 years of comics, we're getting a live action series. That's such a huge accomplishment. Congratulations to Matt Wagner. As I said, it's been in the works for a long time. He's got lots of collaborators who have worked on the series over the years. Of course, if you're familiar with Grendel, if you're not, you can read. There's many omnibus collections that you can read on Dark Horse Digital right now. You may be able to find some in print still. It has been a little while. Don't worry, that's another piece of news that we'll share coming up as we can. But yes, there will be more coming up, reprints or new editions. So when we can share more specifics with everybody, we will do so. But yes, you'll be able to get them in print again as soon as we can, given current conditions as well, as we were just talking about. So,
but in the meantime, we do have the digital ones. Don't forget, you can find those on darkhorse.com.
The Dark Horse Digital, as well as Comixology and other common places. But yeah, so the Netflix series is going to focus in on the story of Hunter Rose from Grendel, which if you are a Grendel reader, you'll know that's one of the main early storylines. It makes sense to me that they would start there. It's a very popular one, and I know that there are some other great Grendel characters that come along throughout. We'll see if it's popular. Perhaps we can explore those too. But we're starting with Hunter Rose, which I think is a very good starting point. I work closely with editor Philip Simon and actually past editor Diana Schutz because we have been gathering a lot of the archival material and putting some things together so we can. We're gonna share some past items with folks so that we can hopefully familiarize new fans with this very long running series. Yeah. I know that there are lots of really hardcore longtime fans, but we also want to make this accessible for new folks as well. So Hunter Rose is basically a character. He's an extremely gifted young man, both mentally, intellectually. He's a great writer. He's also a great fencer. And he meets the love of his life, but tragedy strikes and she is taken too soon, and he kind of turns to vengeance and becomes involved in the fighting the criminal underworld of New York City. And that is a very, very basic, simplified version of what is actually a very complex story. But so that
so
Hunter
good.
Rose storyline is where this series is going to pick up. The cast is led by Abu Bakr Ali. He will be playing Hunter Rose. So that's very cool as well. He's been in Katie Keene, is what you might know him from. He'll be in What If also coming up, which is a pretty big deal. He's also the first Arab Muslim male actor to portray a lead in a series from a comic book adaptation. So
Makes
very
me
cool.
Happy and sad considering how long it's taken.
There is also that, yes. But the cast, as I said, I'll drop the link in the chat in a second here to the news release that we put out earlier this week. But you can see some of the cast members. And again, we'll have more news about the full cast coming out throughout the week. So stay tuned to Dark Horse and Netflix also on our social media and on our websites as we continue to introduce you to the main characters of the upcoming Grendel live series. Mm-hmm.
I'm super excited for it.
Yeah. It's one of those things that, like I said, it's been kind of in the works in the pipeline for such a long time. And then when we finally get the green light to proceed, it just happens super fast. So it's been a very busy week, basically.
And honestly, the whole Grendel saga is just so action-packed and so innovative. And like I'm a big fan of animated series for all ages, adults and younger people. But I'm really glad that this one's going to live action.
Yeah. I think it makes a lot more sense. And I've seen people concerned, will Argent be CGI? He's in the cast list, folks. Julian Black Antelope is going to play Argent. So yeah, I think I'm excited about it. Matt Wagner and his son Brennan are both involved. I mean, Matt is an executive producer alongside Dark Horse Entertainment. So they are saying that it's looking good. So, I trust the creators of the series.
It's a pretty big endorsement when the people who originally conceived the character are behind how they're being interpreted on screen.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as I said, we'll continue to share what news we can. I'll drop that link in the chat in just a second here. So you can see what we have shared thus far. Stay tuned for more coming up. And another frequently asked question, what else is Dark Horse Entertainment doing? We've got a lot coming up. We have Umbrella Academy season 3 will be coming fairly soon. They wrapped filming and production just recently, so that's exciting. Resident Alien will be back for season 2. Also really exciting. They won some awards just recently for best comedy series, which is I'm just so thrilled for them because the whole cast and crew did an amazing job on that show. It was like a bright spot in a very dark year. We also have things like the Usagi Yojimbo animated series coming up that we are involved with. And we have some other shows that were recently announced as picked up. Ladykiller.
Yes.
Kind of a big deal. I love Ladykiller. And also Mystery Girl. So not a lot of news because, as you know, these TV shows, like we're saying, kind of get announced and then it's a bit of a wait before they actually come about, especially with COVID affecting production. But all those things have been announced. And as we get more news to share, we will certainly do so.
Yep.
I am going to say that brings us to the end of our roundup for today. We are a little bit over the time we usually go to, so I won't keep us too much longer. But thank you, Jenny, for joining me to do especially this deep dive on all things Mignola this week.
I'm always happy to be on this stream, especially for new comic book releases. It's a joy to see your face, and it's a joy to not see Gary's face, but know he's here behind the scenes.
Yes, always watching over us.
Right, our guardian angel Gary. But it's also a joy just to have everybody get to engage in the chat and like share our excitement and like, I don't know, maybe learn a new tidbit or two about a series or a creator. So thank you, Kara, for always making this happen. And again, like, good luck moving forward with October. Folks, please be kind to Kara.
We have a lot, an awful lot going on always throughout October. But it is the most wonderful time of the year, in my opinion, because we get to enjoy all things horror and Halloween. Look also for, we'll, as always, do some horror roundups. We'll do some horror staff picks, I think, or not necessarily horror, just what we enjoy, what we recommend for the month of October and around.
Spooky goodness.
Yeah. And I know Jenny's got some good recommendations, so I'm sure we'll be back together to chat about these things.
Excellent. Yeah, it's always Halloween at my house, so anytime we get to chat that when it's more socially timely,
right,
I'm down for it.
Yeah. Always, it's Halloween year round for me, like in my heart as well. So. With that, that kind of wraps up the Dark Horse Comics New Comic Book Day for this week. Thank you again, Jenny, for joining us. Mike Mignola, lots of news this week, lots of new releases this week. Check out his social media too. Visit your local comic shop to pick up everything we talked about today, or go online to order things, whatever you're more comfortable with doing. And we will be back next week. Stay tuned for some more I think very exciting to many people. Some exciting stream events happening. So same time, same place, Twitch, and then later on YouTube. We are Dark Horse Comics, and I will sign off for this Wednesday. Thank you for watching.
There's a room somewhere deep inside of me, but I can only see it on rare occasions. This is where all my memories of her live. But lately the details are fuzzier, fading to nothing. And nothing scares me more than the idea of forgetting her. But what can I do? Can't stop time. I can't go back. All I can do is keep walking. But something is changing now. I can feel it. Nothing seems real, and everything seems possible. I see it now. I know where the center is. I know where to find her. The only way out is in.